Hello, everyone. Welcome to another BRAP Basement Radio Arcade podcast. It's Wednesday, March 11th. Here we are, third month of the year, and we've got a lot to talk about today. GDC 2026, Game Developers Conference. Microsoft was there today discussing building the next generation of Xbox. Jason Ronald, who's the vice president of next generation at Xbox, discussed Project Helix. We'll get to that in a little bit. Want to give a big thank you to everyone here in the live chat who's watching us. Thank you for joining the show. Please do me a favor, do the YouTube thing, hit the like button, let everyone know we're live. Support really helps the channel out. The like buttons help people find the show, the channel. And if you do, consider subscribing, hitting that bell notification, especially if you like the content I can't even talk today. The content that we have here on the show. If you're new to the show, one of the things that we do is we try to provide an analysis, right? Some analysis and provide our opinions, obviously, but analysis of all things related to gaming, whether it's trends that we're seeing in the gaming industry based on data that's out there from sources like Newzoo, Circana. We'll go over the financials from the big three, Nintendo, PlayStation, and Microsoft Xbox. And we'll also make commentary on some of the things that we see out there as it relates to, I don't know, perspectives, opinions that people might have of the industry from different content creators or influencers. We try to add a bit more nuance to the conversation because often there's a lot of nuance that is missing from the conversation. So Game Logic will be joining us here in just a little bit. That's actually why I'm going early tonight. Typically go live at 9 p.m. Eastern time, but Logic is going to he's going to be on another show this evening. Thrifty Gaming, I believe. I think he's on Thrifty show about once a month. He is a guest on that show, and so he mentioned that he mentioned that he could go live. He could actually join us a bit early, given that he's going to be on Thrifty show. We may have a surprise guest as well joining us here shortly. I haven't received confirmation just yet, but we'll see. We'll see. So before we get to the GDC, do want to discuss an article here that came across my dashboard. I'll pull it up here. Hopefully it's not paywalled. Oh, by the way, real quick, I'm still playing Resident Evil Requiem. It is probably still my game of the year. Actually, there's something I need. Speaking of game of the year, I'm thinking about doing, I might do a stream this weekend. I haven't streamed a game. Oh, and probably geez, it's a long time. Yeah, I did start early Hero Down Under. Yeah, I haven't streamed a game in a long time. I might need to do that soon. No, 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 no. We started early Hero Down Under. By the way, let me know how my mic sounds. There was a mic issue 2 weeks ago. I just want to make sure that everyone on time for class. I appreciate that Hero Down Under. Please let me know how the mic sounds too. We had some issues about 2 weeks ago. Oh, by the way, I'm toying with the idea now. I'm currently on a 3070 PC or GPU. I have an Intel 12700K CPU, and I'm toying with the idea of upgrading, going to the 50 series cards. And I was looking at the 5070 Ti, talked to a few folks, and they said 5080. So, RAM prices, unfortunately, have added a couple other $100 on top of the build that I'm looking at. So I don't know. I'm gonna shop around a bit more and see what kind of deals I can find. Big shout out to Nate, actually helped me put together. He picked out some parts for me on uh, on the Micro Center's website because I know that I will go out and pick very expensive parts, and so he was like, "Nah, BRAP, just do this, this, and this. You'll be good." So he actually, part of the idea I'm kind of toying around with is taking my existing case and then swapping out parts, right? Just updating the build that I have, really the case. I mean, I'd swap out the power supply. Salute Soldier for Life, appreciate that. I'd swap out the power supply, GPU, CPU, and put in, a new motherboard, everything, keep, things like that, right? But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I might just go and just get a complete build, new box, new case, and do that. That might be the route that I end up going. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Nothing's set in stone yet, but I'm definitely gonna do my homework here. Let me pull Game Logic in. What's going on, Logic?
Nothing much, man. How are you?
Good, man. Just giving everyone kind of an update. On the PC front, that I might be looking to upgrade. Actually, I spoke to Nate today. Um, First time I've ever spoken to him by phone. So, um, we went over like some parts at Micro Center and things like that. He actually got me some parts for, I think everything came in about 2 grand. I think for pretty much everything. Um, so, but I think the Logic, I might need a new case. I don't know if the current case I have is gonna be big enough for that 5080. So,
Yeah, when I have questions like that, I just get the new thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't I
Yeah.
don't play games.
No, well, I've had that life lesson, right? Where it's like, you're unsure if something's gonna fit. You're like, you'll probably be fine." And then you get it, it's like, "Fuck, I should have upgraded." I don't know if I've had that experience a
That
couple
was I mean,
times. Yeah.
that was the story of my entire like first 1 or 2 years in PC building. I kept trying to cut corners, kept trying to like a huge thing. This will be really quick. Like a huge thing is so I started building PCs in the time of CD writers,
Okay.
and
I remember those.
and they were in the upgrade cycle. They were coming out as like literally every 2 months like a faster CD writing drive would come out. So it was 2x and then it was 4x and then an 8x drive, right? And I would constantly try and cut corners and get like the cheapest one that I could find. Now, if you were into CD writing, right, and ripping CDs back at the time, what you know, me and my buddy used to joke. My buddy used to joke about this all the time. Like we would literally like put the CD in the tray, like try and like apply the least amount of pressure we possibly could to the button to get it to close, right? In order to like in our minds not send any vibrations to the PC, and then literally try to get up from the seat and like tiptoe away. Because we were convinced that like the merest tremor of like change in airflow in the computer room would cause that CD to become a coaster. So because of all the times you would burn a CD and like half the time, right, it would fail. So throughout this time, like every other month, I was going and I was buying like a new CD rewritable drive, and I was reading Maximum PC. Like the best CD writer drives at the time were, I think they were called, they were, it was really like I think they were called Pexor or Plexor or something like that. There's something that started with a P, and I think they were actually made by like HP. But like for months and like a year or more, like I just refused to buy this Plextor. I think was their brand name.
Yeah, that sounds right, yeah.
And then finally, I was like, I finally got it. I was like, bruh, just buy the Plextor drive, and then don't care about the speed because you're gonna have the best drive. And that's like
Exactly.
that's kind of like officially the time in my like PC building time when I was like, buy the best parts that are available. You know, stop trying to get the cheapest. Stop trying to cut corners. If there's something in the case like you literally don't talk about, like you and I were talking about SSDs the other day. I'm like, okay, I don't know that I need to buy the Samsung 990 like SSD. Like I could probably get away with like a SanDisk, right, or something like that. But most of the time, like I'm gonna just get a good. And of course, this was the day before Amazon, right? But Amazon just makes it so much easier today because
Mhm.
buy something that's at least 4 stars or above, or
Yeah.
then filter by average, sort by average consumer review or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Hey, I want you to look at the, screen real quick. I just found Went to Micro Center's website. So again, looking at parts, but also looking at these pre-builds. So here's an Intel, oh, not Intel. Yeah, Intel Ultra 9 285K processor. This is an Alienware, 32 gigs of DDR5, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5080, 2 terabyte NVMe .2s or M.2s for $2,100.
Yeah. This is the only thing I would hedge on is, and again, this is something you could buy and then you could like buy something later, like 6 months later. I don't personally like. I'm not super crazy about like the 5200 frequency on the RAM because that's a really old like DDR5 spec. That's like the year that DDR5 like really came out or became prevalent. I would probably want something like 6,000 or 7,000 megahertz RAM now. I think they're on the megahertz scale. But that's a really like that's a camp level critique, right? So I think you'll be fine on it. I mentioned it just because like if I'm going to spend $2,200, I'd probably want up spec RAM, but I think you will be fine on that. You will absolutely be fine on that.
I mean, actually, I think for the price, I mean, like looks like it retailed for about 3,600. It's on sale now. I mean, I don't think it's a bad deal for the price.
No, I mean, I would quite honestly, that's like that's something I would like pull the trigger on like very quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't have enough RGBs, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's got the light strip here,
Yeah.
Oh, but I gotta have my RGBs, Camp. I gotta have my RGBs.
I really don't think they're big. I mean, look, I played with RGBs just because it was a thing, but like I tell you that in fact the favorite AIO that I have is on the machine that I'm on now is an Arctic
Okay
360 millimeter, and it has no RGBs on it, and I love the look, the stealth black look of that case, and it runs like super quiet too.
By the way, there's 25 of these in stock right now at the Micro Center by my house.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean,
you know what? I've never owned an Alienware. I've stayed away from Alienware.
Yeah,
it's not a bad.
It's a nice thing to look back on your life and say, oh, I owned an Alienware. I mean, I've owned, I think, one Alienware desktop. I don't think I've ever bought one of their laptops. But I actually bought an Alienware desktop when they first started being available at Best Buy, and it was so early. In fact, like I said, it was right when they started that. You would not do like this. You would not order like a stock configuration. You would actually physically go into the Best Buy. They had a little order form, and you would hit like the check boxes of like the things that you wanted, and then turn that in, and Alienware would build it, and then they would ship it for you to pick up at Best Buy.
Hold on a sec here. Putting up a poll. All right, I just put a poll up. Let me know what you think. Everyone in the live chat. Should BRAP buy the Alienware 5080 build that you see here on screen, on sale right now for $2,200? All right. Yeah, I don't disagree with you on the RAM. Like I think like at a like when you start crossing $2,000, like I don't disagree with you. I could I get away with it? Yeah. But at some point I'd probably want to swap the RAM out, Data War says BRAP has FOMO again. I really do.
Now, I'll say on air what I said to you earlier today. I don't think you need it. In fact, if you waited, because I don't think you need it for anything this year. Like GTA 6s are going to show up on PC. So,
I mean, but what other games are coming out this year? I mean, Resident Evil Requiem, I'm already playing on PS5 Pro.
PlayStation exclusives. Like that's all this GTA 6 and PlayStation exclusives that you have a PS5 Pro. Look, if you just wait till next year, then the Xbox Helix will be around, and that will be an option for you to play GTA 6 on.
Yeah, I here's the thing with Helix though. If Helix is anywhere north of $1,000, I don't think I don't think I would consider it as an option.
BRAP, it's supposedly going to have RTX 5080, 5090 performance.
If this is true, I've heard that too. Wink, wink. All for $1,200. Best deal in gaming.
It's half the price of what you're about to pay for an Alienware, and
exactly.
by next year that Alienware will be a year old.
Yeah. I want to see what this. Look at the poll here. All right, so I got should BRAP buy the Alienware 5080 build? Yes, no, or wait for Xbox Helix. 13% of people are saying wait for Xbox Helix. The other 20% have voted no, that I shouldn't buy the Alienware, and 67% are saying yes. I'm interested. The no's. Why did you say no? Why should I not buy the Alienware 5080 build? Oh wow, now we're down to 59%. 24% for wait for Xbox Helix. There you go, Hamp. I don't think this is a bad deal. This might be the best deal I've seen so far for 5080.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I mean, it's definitely in the ballpark, right, of one of the better deals that are going around out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna send this build to a Nate and Slow-Mo. See what Slow-Mo says.
Yeah, now I would read the fine print. So you've just looked at the specs, but I would definitely. Are you on Amazon now or Best Buy?
That's Micro Center.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I would definitely you don't have to do it now, but I would definitely scroll down and read like the fine print on it.
Yeah. Let's see here. It does come with actually it comes with Resident Evil Requiem. Has a liquid cooler. I mean, I don't know, man. I think this is a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, this is a box that I've looked at.
I mean, look at it. Small form factor. Does this mean that it's a console?
Hey, if it fits under your TV and your entertainment center, console is just a form factor.
What I'm curious is, can you? I'm assuming you can open this thing, right?
Yeah,
parts.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm thinking. I was like, it is small form factor. I mean, look at that. Huh.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I mean, unless you're just using small form factor like as a colloquialism. I don't think it's.
I am. No,
okay,
it's not. Yeah. No,
I think it's micro ATX.
Yeah.
It's like a half tower or whatever they would call it.
Yeah. Look at that. Intentional thermal strategy. Okay. I don't know. This might look. There we go. Here we go. Got that there. I don't know. This might. This might be a good one. I don't know. The FOMO starting to kick in now.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, like you said, talk to Innate and Slow-Mo, because I guess my feeling would be like, if you're going to pull the trigger on it, I would do it right before like the market changes and something goes wonky with prices.
Oh, what is the motherboard? Somebody wants to know the motherboard.
I'm betting it's a B650.
Yeah, I guess he's asking what the brand is though. I don't see anything about the motherboard.
Yeah, you may want to that you may be able to. So this is the huge problem, right? Is the PC configs that go to Best Buy will often have PC configs that are just sold at Best Buy. And so you'll go to my first thing was, we'll go to the Alienware site. Maybe you'll be able to check it out. But the motherboard that's in the pre-config on the Alienware site may have slightly different parts than what Best Buy has. Because obviously Best Buy bought them right in a way that it was a cost savings to them in bulk.
I'm saying case, motherboard, Intel Z890.
Say that one more time.
It says case and motherboard, chipset Intel Z890.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking I'm automated to think of AMD boards.
But it doesn't say what brand it is.
Well, I mean, bespoke. I mean, said you should check it and see how upgradable it is. I mean, my personal feeling is it's Intel. So when you go to upgrade an Intel CPU, you're 90% likely to have to upgrade the motherboard anyway.
Yeah.
So on Intel,
Yep.
I don't.
Wasn't
For me, that's not a personal.
Wasn't that one of the
thing.
things with AMD? You didn't have to upgrade the motherboard if you upgrade the CPU. Is that a thing, or am I making that up?
I mean, I don't remember that it's always been a thing. It has been a thing on Ryzen. They have stuck with
Okay,
they've stuck
that's
with
what I thought.
AM4, and the motherboard vendors have provided BIOS updates. So I had Ryzen 1000, 2000. I don't remember if I had 3000 or if I skipped 3000 and 5000. And I definitely didn't have to upgrade a motherboard on 1000. I didn't have to upgrade a motherboard across 1000, 2000, 3000. I think the first time I bought my initial Ryzen motherboards, and I think the first time I had to buy a new motherboard was when I built a 5950X.
Yeah. Chrono Rick says, "Brap, what about Crimson Desert?" Yeah, I'm not really interested in Crimson Desert. Yeah. Doesn't really tickle my fancy. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna look into this. I did send the link to a Nate and Slow-Mo. Oh wow, look at this. Let me go back to the poll here. Should Brat buy the Alienware 5080 build? If you just joined the show, please vote. Let me know what you guys think. So 54% are saying yes, I should buy the Alienware 5080 build. 20% no, and then 26% logic, wait for Xbox Helix. Interesting. Yeah, Jason, I'm a pass on Crimson Desert too. All right, Logic. Why don't we get into because I know you've got to get going here in just a bit. Let me pull this up real quick. All right. So GDC 2026, we had Xbox do their developer talk, and seemed like quite a bit of media influencers, content creator types were there at the event.
I feel like it seems like that's all that was there.
It almost seems like that. I mean, I would imagine there's probably some developers there, but yeah, I did see, at least on social media across my timeline, I did see, so like Hip Hop Gamer post a video. Is it Khalif Adams? I always forget his name. I think he had a picture with Jason Ronald, and saw a couple other content creators there. Yeah, but it did feel like that. It kind of felt like it kind of had like an E3 vibe to it almost, you know. And it's not a fan fest by any stretch of or a um, that kind of event, right? So I thought it was kind of interesting to see um, a lot of those content creators there at the event, but um, a Helix Fest. That's pretty funny. Actually, let me stop this. I'm sorry, let me stop this poll real quick. I'm gonna go end the poll here. All right. So here are the results of the poll. Should Brett buy the Alienware 5080 build? From Micro Center, it's currently retailing for $2,200. 54% of our viewers said yes. 27%, second place, 27% said wait for Xbox Helix. And 19% said no. That's 37 votes. All right. What is this? Do any of you feel dumb thinking Xbox games were going to keep coming to PlayStation? That's an interesting question. All right, Logic. I'm not going to read the Xbox Wire press release just yet, but I just want to get your thoughts on what we learned today about Project Helix and how Microsoft's building the next generation of Xbox.
I don't think we learned much of anything. I mean, of the tweets that I saw, it seemed like the slide presentation was like less than 10 slides. Because that's about all that I saw at most. And that's a lofty projection of what I saw. I mean, one of those was the title slide.
Yeah.
So there weren't a lot of slides. The tweets that I saw people putting out just repeated literally the bullet points that were on the slide. That goes ditto for all of the news articles that I saw today. So that what I think I saw run at the Verge, what I assume Windows Central ran, none of those really provided any additional depth or insight.
No, they really did. They were just slide decks. Not a lot of insight. Oh, let me get Mag in here.
Jeez.
Mag, what's going on?
4 seconds. I just clicked on it, says enter studio, and you already got me. My goodness. How you guys doing tonight? How's everybody?
good.
Good to see you, good, man.
It's good to see you guys too. What are you talking about? There's no news.
Yeah, there is news. Of course there's news. Well, you missed the poll about PC because I'm looking at upgrading my 5080 or upgrading my 3070 to a 5080.
Jesus, I was going to say you're trying to upgrade a 5080 to what?
Well, the Xbox Helix.
All right. All right. So what's the story? Catch me up on things.
All right. So I ran a poll. Should I buy? I found a Micro Center had a they have a pre-built. It's an Alienware.
Okay.
$2,200, 5080.
All right.
32 gigs of memory. Right. 2 terabytes storage. Yeah. I mean, it's it's not bad. I mean, it's a pretty good looking PC.
Okay.
And so I think a little bit over 50% of our viewers said, yes, I should upgrade. 27% said I should wait for Xbox Helix, believe it or not.
Well, how? Okay, so from my understanding from the show today, well, it wasn't a show, but my understanding is that the dev kits aren't even going out till 27. So I was talking to a few people about it, and they're like, well, it doesn't matter because even actually in the last generation, when those dev kits came out, in 2020, let's say for the current generation, the console still came out the same year. So I would imagine at this point, it's still going to drop in fall of 2027. I feel it's a missed opportunity, but that's a conversation for another time. Because you're going to have that Steam machine get a jump on people. But, I mean, are you willing to wait a year and a half?
No, of course not.
Okay, well then just do it now. Who cares?
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
but my point for him, Mag, is there's nothing coming out this year that he needs an RTX 5080 for. Anything that's coming out that's really important will be something he can play on his PlayStation 5 Pro.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, then, yeah. Well, if that's the case, then just save your money. I mean, at least for the interim. You know what I mean?
I don't like where this conversation's going.
wait for. I told you, wait for the RTX Supers to drop. Or
by the way,
the 6000s.
And Nate's saying the Supers aren't coming out because I asked him that question today. I don't know if that's true.
What do you mean are coming? I mean, eventually they're going to come out.
He said they are not making 5080 Supers.
Okay, disregard whether or not I said it, RTX. Like at some point, there will be an advancement in GPUs.
Yeah, I mean next year. Yeah, next year we'll get
done making
series.
new GPUs.
No.
Right.
No.
My point is that wait for the next either half step or full step because there's nothing coming out in 2026 that is that big a deal that you need an RTX 5080 for that you will not also be able to play on your PlayStation 5 Pro.
Well, you know what? That's a good point. But you realize logic what's happening here. He's trying to talk us out of him actually buying it because he's already made up his mind.
Oh, I know. I play the same game with myself all the time.
He's already made up his mind. We're just wasting our breath here because he's like, listen, I'm buying this thing anyway. So it's like, it's one of those things where like you talk to your wife and you're like, honey, I'm really going to go buy this thing. I'm going to buy this thing. I don't think I should buy this thing. And she's like, you're going to buy the thing. I could see it all over your face. So just shut up and go buy it. So it just seems like it's that way. But you know what? Logic is not wrong. If if there's nothing that is going to be utilized for beyond what you're going to get with, for example, on the console experience with a PS5 Pro, with the PSSR2 and all that stuff, then it doesn't make a difference. Then just save it. Just do that and then save that money. Save that money.
There's a limited window. This is like exit velocity on a rocket.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
There's a limited window to catch him before he achieves exit velocity.
Yeah, I know. We're talking him off the financial ledge right now. Listen, right, dude, if you got the hardware, just hang on to what you got. I mean, I think it's more than fine. It's more than fine. And like I said, if you got that Pro already, you're going to be getting that. Well, maybe not penultimate experience, but pretty damn close to it. I mean, I'm currently playing Resident Evil Requiem at 120 FPS right now. You know what I mean? Like, so it's what else are you looking for? Like, I mean, I'm actually asking you, what else are you looking for?
I think for me, part of it's, I'm essentially 2 gens behind now, and it's kind of, it's FOMO, a little bit of FOMO,
Okay.
I want to play, I'm reading about the new DLSS update, path tracing. I'm listening to people talk about playing Resident Evil Requiem with the 5080 and the path trace. So it's like, oh yeah, I want to experience that.
Ironically, I'm hearing there's some performance issues on the Series X and PC versions of that game. Is that true?
Oh, I don't know.
I've experienced nothing from my end.
I haven't experienced any on PC, and I did a pretty robust round of testing.
Okay.
Yeah, as well, looking at frame pacing and frame rate generation times, and granted at the early part of the game, but I didn't have any problems. PC version also did not have the quote unquote fix applied to the console versions, where they just ripped ray tracing wholesale out of an entire section of the game.
Okay.
So your mileage may vary.
Okay. That's why I don't get involved in the PC. It's not because I don't know how. It's just I just can't bother. I just want to turn the damn thing on, play it, and just call it a day. And maybe just have like a being able to do it in a minor level, like being able to turn, like, for example, I can go 4K 60 with ray tracing on, or if I turn the ray tracing off, I can go to 4K 120. That's it. Those are the only choices I need in this world. I'm totally fine with that. Like, give me something simple. I don't want to tinker. I don't want to play around. I know it can be fairly simple, but for me, I don't know, man. It's just not my bag. But either way, BRAP, don't do it. Just save your cash, dude. Come on.
Well, it's either that or I buy new wheels for my truck.
You know what? You'll need the wheels for your truck more than hardware that's actually not necessary right now.
Well, I don't need new wheels for my truck, because the wheels that I have in my truck are actually pretty nice. They're chrome dipped Chevy OEM rims. So I mean,
Okay, so you have what's called retail therapy sickness. You just need to buy something. Is that what you're trying to say right now?
I think that's it, Mac.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Hey, man, just there it is.
And BRAP, I'm right there with you, dude. For someone who look, six new Apple products released last week. I have been talking myself out of whipping out my Apple card for 2 weeks now. And I'm still doing it. I'm telling myself I'm going to hold on. I'm going to hold out till WWDC. So I'm there with you. One thing I will say, if you do pull the trigger, we're going to have a further on conversation, because what we're not going to do, because you're stepping up GPU class, right? Because last time we had this conversation and you went with an XX70 series card, right? Which was fine. But now you're coming up to the 80 class. What we're not going to do is we're not going to get an 80 class GPU and then have you on a 1440p 27-inch monitor.
Oh, no.
Right, so,
no.
Yeah, there's a further discussion we need to have.
But remember, my desktop is hooked up to my OLED TV now.
Yeah, that's not the stuff though. Like, that's fine, but you still gotta have, right? You can't be on your desk when you do play on your desktop. You can't be on that Acer 1440p monitor.
No, I can't. No, I agree with you. I would. Now we're talking about another investment, right? Yeah, no, I agree.
A steep one, probably a $650 to $800 investment.
Oh, okay. Now, yeah. Well, that's changed the calculus now a little bit. So I don't know if I want to spend another $800. Who knows? All right, I want to go back to so Mag, as you joined the show, we were getting into GDC, building the next generation of Xbox. I was asking Logic what we learned, and I agree with Logic. We didn't really learn a whole lot.
I didn't expect anything. Like, I
yeah,
mean, this is
I
a
didn't
developers convention. It's not a showcase. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to show off hardware. You're not going to have Gandalf up there doing his thing. Like, I mean, they will, but like, it's just going to be on a smaller level.
Wait, did you just refer to Jason Ronald as Gandalf?
Oh, I got names for everybody in the industry. I got
God,
he's
man.
Gandalf. Asha. Even when I say her name on my show, it just Colt Eastwood said Usher once, and so
Usher.
now. Yeah, like he said Usher by accident, and so now her name is eternally Usher. So I just call her Usher now, and then whenever I say her name, I always play a clip of one of Usher's songs on my show from the soundboard. But anyway, yeah, I got names for everybody. It wasn't going to be that kind of thing.
But this is my problem, and I mean yeah, like there's a facet, right? There's a side of the polygon where your perspective is absolutely valid, and I get it. My problem is if it's a developer conference, if I'm a developer sitting out in that crowd, you still told me nothing.
I see what you're getting at. Okay, I understand. All right.
Because right now, because this is what I keep trying to get across, right? Not to you, but to other people. Like what I keep trying to get across is the key element here is versioning, right? And the publishers will care about entitlements, and maybe we'll be able to get into that a little bit before I go. But the key thing for developers to be concerned about is versioning, and it's how many versions of a thing do I have to build to put where. And what I'm not clear from the conference is if I'm building let's flash forward to 2027. If I'm building what will at that time be a current modern version of a game that's going to run on an Xbox, is that just a PC game? If it's just a PC game, is there anything in a revised GDK or anything that comes from Microsoft, right? Because they put up this slide that talked about them like unifying a bunch of engines, changing pipelining so that your build process yields these multiple versions of a game that run in multiple places. So first of all, what I will tell you is when you say things like that to any developer worth their salt, their immediate response is disbelief. Their immediate response is, this is advertised auto magic that isn't going to actually work. But the key thing for me is it just a PC game, and is there anything coming in the GDK that makes it easier for me to then optimize that for Helix? If there's not, then I'm just making a PC game. So on the consumer side, what I say is, okay, so that's just a PC game that's going to show up on my box if it's a Project Helix box, and have the percentage chance, the probability to run the same as it might on any PC. And that percentage chance probability is that game might run great. I might be on the specific PC config where it's going to run like a turd. And so devs already have to optimize when they're going for PC. Devs already have to choose a set of target hardware that they're going to optimize for 10 different configurations, 15 different configurations. And the bigger a publisher you are, the more configs they target, the more configs they optimize to. And optimize is I would call it it's a pass oriented workflow, right? Meaning, right, I put it on target hardware, I see how it runs, I go in there with hammer and nails and my carpenter kit, and I like bang a bunch of shivs into place, right? And I make the thing better. And then I do it again, and I do it again, and I do it again. And eventually I get down to a point where it's running really, really, really well on that specific hardware config. Now I do that 10 times for 10 different hardware configs. And I hope and believe that when this now deploys to hundreds of thousands and millions of potentially different hardware configs, I believe that I've targeted enough variances in hardware configs that it runs well on most of them. But some of them, it's not going to run well. Some of them are going to have problems, just like you just talked about, right? You know, you're hearing that people are having problems with like a PC, you know, with Resident Evil, and that's because somebody's running a hardware config where, you know, something's upsetting the code. So the big question, right, for a developer is okay, so you told me basically that the problem with Xbox was we weren't caring enough, right, and showing enough concern. It's super funny to me, Crimson Desert, right? I see the Crimson Desert spec, and this mofo runs good on Macs, right? And I'm like, wow, they chose, and again, this is how am I going to spend my time? That team apparently chose to spend time to optimize it to run well on Apple Silicon. And I question how much time they spent in comparison to how much time they spent on Xbox. So those are the types of choices people are making. And my whole thing, right, as a developer is what are you doing to help me optimize for Project Helix? Because if you're not doing anything to help me, your config may be one of my 15 configs that I target. Maybe it won't. I think you're going to sell 9 million copies. So I don't know that I'm going to spend that much time. And oh, by the way, NVIDIA cards, right, are 95% of the market. So yeah, am I going to target an AMD config? Yes, but I'm not. I may not target yours. Oh, by the way, you're telling me that you're running like highly customized silicon from AMD. So now you're a one-off. And out of the AMD stuff, I got to pick what's the hottest processors, what's the hottest GPUs, and I got to pick a couple APUs in there as well.
So what you're saying is that the developers at that point would have to look at the situation. This is not my field, by the way, but so I am learning while you're speaking. So basically, it comes down to the point of they're going to prioritize what they think is going to be the most popular to maximize sale.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Exactly.
That makes a lot more sense to me now. So now the thing is, in regards to
which real quick, by the way, which is why I've been arguing that this thing is PC based. Because now you don't skip Xbox. But go ahead, Meg.
I did hear someone else say that too after today, saying well, they kind of done it in a way that they're sort of cornering people, that there's, instead of avoiding the product, there'll be no way to avoid the platform. Excuse me, the platform. There'll be no way to avoid the platform because you're kind of doing it by force, right? So I'm like, okay, I kind of get that. I always felt that from the beginning, the idea was that whatever happens or not, I always felt that the plan from the beginning was to basically make the next Xbox, all the games that are being played on there would be the PC versions of that, so that it would actually be easier to develop for, so that it would get to the point where it said, listen, if you're developing for the Xbox, you're just doing the PC version of that. You're going to be playing the PC version of that. And then that would also minimize workflow with the actual, even like in-house developers when they're going to be developing for PlayStation 5, instead of having to do a console version for the Xbox, console version for the PS5, upgrades for the PS5 Pro, and on top of that, PC. Right, so it would just be streamlined across the board. That's my understanding. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't really know, and I don't have a dog in the fight of like, if it's a PC or a console. I attack from another angle. My angle has always been marketing and marketing and business. And what I have to say is that 95% of the customers out there, all they want to know is, cool story, bro. How much does it cost, and what does it do? That's really what people ask at the end of the day, right? So I like from what Logic is talking about, he's talking from the inner workings from inside the studio, from inside the industry. I'm looking at it from the consumer point of view. So it's kind of interesting how that's going to converge. And then, of course, what is going to be offered on that platform? That's going to be another thing, because if they say, well, I can't get this game over there, I might as well buy this hardware where I'll be able to access, said game or whatever I'm interested in playing. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very interesting year and a half. I can tell you that much.
So this is the thing I want to pick at, Mac. And again, I'm glad you bring up these points, and I'm not saying what I'm saying.
Logic, real quick, before we get to that point, there's actually a great question in the chat. I think this kind of addresses, or it's a question about in regards to some of the things you just said. Like, would having dev kits help with that? I was surprised that they said they're shipping dev kits since it's a PC. Now, and that's the other thing too. I know some of the live chat, like this Xbox guy, come on. Like, he's like, I'm subscribing so I can rub it in your face. Like, really? What are we like 10? This is a console, not a PC. Although I did have somebody, interestingly enough, who's in the gaming industry say, yeah, this thing is a PC. So actually, not the only gaming industry, not the only person in the industry that I've heard refer to this as a PC. Basically, it's more along the lines of like, yeah, this is Microsoft moving, development environment to PC more than Xbox, is how it was kind of explained to me. I don't know if that makes sense, Logic, but anyhow, yeah, go ahead.
So our response to Bag, we'll pick that up too, right? So it is a great question. So would dev kits help with that? So here's the question: what is the dev kit for? Again, I'm a developer in the audience. You've told me nothing. Dev kits will ship in 2027. For what? For the PC games or for the console games? And if it's for the console games, what console games? Because a very serious question that needs to be understood about this device, and the way I'm going to describe it right now is, it is a PC with a console subsystem embedded within it. And whether or not that's virtualization or emulation or a sandbox, or it's physical separation of two different hard drives, or logical separation, I don't really give a shit, right? It is a subordinate system, right, of a higher master system. And again, not dealing with whether or not it runs, as a with the PC side being like a supervisory component, right, to a child subsystem, or whether or not they run completely independently. It doesn't even matter. But when you say you're shipping an SDK in 2027, my question is, for what? Because you could be revising the GDK, which is what they have on the PC side. And that GDK, again, like I said before, could have stuff in it that helps optimize it for that specific hardware targeted as a PC config.
You're talking about you mean Helix, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I just want to make that clear.
When you talk about the console subsystem, is that part of this SDK? Is that console subsystem, and this is my big question, is that console subsystem a Xbox, an Xbox Series X equivalent? Or is it the next generation Xbox? And when I say a next generation Xbox, realize it's a subsystem within a higher level supervisory PC master system. Is it next gen because it takes advantage of all of the technology that you put up on that slide? Or is all of that technology that you put up on the slide, multi-frame generation, AMD, FSR Diamond, is that stuff only accessible via the PC side? Because now let's take GTA 6 as an example. If I'm spooling a GTA 6 version that's going to run on Helix, is it just a PC version? And if the question, does the SDK help with that? Maybe the SDK helps with that. But if that SDK is just so I can make an Xbox Series X version of the game, am I going to do that? Because regardless of the SDK, I still have to test it. I still have to QA it. I still have to version control it. I still have to support it.
Yeah, Logic. I don't think they would make an Xbox version of that game, because the vibe that I'm getting is they're trying to streamline development, right?
Yeah. So in the case of GTA 6, they're already making an Xbox Series version of the game, right?
And
I was jumping for
there. Yeah.
So, but you're right. But if I'm new, if I'm not using a GTA 6, if I'm new, you're right.
You're new. Yeah.
Am I going to make, because at that point now I'm making a cross-gen game, right? And I'm making a game that's going to deploy and be at parity with a PS5 version. I'm probably definitely going to make a PS5 version, right? Because there's enough units out there that people won't have flipped over to PS6. But am I going to do that for Series X? If I don't do the Series X version of it, then am I making a console version of that game? No, probably not. But if that thing is a next gen version and there's some advantage to me making that version, maybe I will. But now I'm also going to be back in the classic will they or won't they situation of what we have this generation, right? I'm making a PC version, am I going to make this Xbox version? And if all that's highly automated and it like collapses stuff into this unified pipeline that Xbox is talking about, then maybe I do. But again, just because something is easy, kind of like you said, Mag, right? Just because something is easy doesn't mean people are going to do it. If it's easy, but it's a pain in my ass because I have this orphaned redheaded stepchild sitting over on this bunk ass digital storefront that nobody buys anything through, like, am I going to be bothered with that?
Probably not.
Yeah. So like I said, this is where I have the perspective that yes, it's a developers conference, but literally as a developer, you didn't tell me anything.
Interesting. Okay. It was nice to hear that perspective, because I barely even looked at this situation at the GDC at all, because from my angle and from the things that I cover and the material that I cover on my channel, and of course with Colt, is it doesn't concern me. You know what I mean? I mean, it does concern me because it's part of the industry, but the angle I was looking at, it did not affect me in that way, because, like I said, I am the marketing and business side. Right. So that's the way I looked at it. But yeah, it's fascinating to hear that from someone who has infinite knowledge on that, and I get an inside view as to what what the mindset is from your angle, right? Very, 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 very interesting.
Well, and I just want to shape the charge, right? So the reason I'm asking the questions is because I'm nerding and geeking out on it, right? I'm asking these questions because these are going to determine the types of software products that are delivered to this platform, and they will shape people's experience. So when you talk about the business and the marketing side, right, what they're defining is they're defining the products that you're going to have on the shelf when the people come into the store,
right? Yeah,
and whether or not they're going to be seen as at parity with a PlayStation game or not, and whether they truly are. And then for your legacy folks, they're going to determine investment, because this is a huge part of my problem. And I'm glad you're here, because I'm giving this, and it's totally up to you as we part ways, right, and going about it to determine whether or not this is a question, right, for your listeners, right, and the people who tune into you and Colt. If this thing just replicates Xbox Series X functionality, then right, and it's taking that and it's marrying it with this thing that's carrying us into this future, which is the future is PC, right? Is that a good deal for me? Because maybe I just want to hold on to my Series X to play my back catalog.
Right.
I don't need a new series. I don't need you to take the Series X and replicate it as a subsystem within this box. If you want to sell me the box to carry me into the future, just
that's
sell
what
me
I was
that
going to
box.
say. So basically, the way I'm looking at it is that you're invested, like you're basically future-proofing yourself if you decide to make that investment. But otherwise, you would keep the current hardware that you have, especially for the possible price points that we're looking at that are not going to be very consumer friendly, right? So people are going to have to be making those decisions at those points, saying, "Hey, am I going to make this move or am I not going to make this move?" Even at the lowest end, from what I had originally spoke to somebody at Microsoft about a month ago, they said this, and this is before Ashish Sharma took over. I'm not expecting that to change. However, their internal projections was between $1,200 to $1,500 based on the price of parts now, not next year, but as they are right now. So that may change. They may go down to $1,000, maybe $1,200, and this is US, of course. However, with those current projections, like someone outside of the United States, for example, the two price points there would be $1,961 for me, or for a higher end, like let's say close to the $1,500 range with exchange and of course tax, it works out to about almost $2,400. They can't even sell Switch 2s right now. Switch 2s are sitting in piles in every store I go to. I also speak to like regional distributors for like Best Buy and stuff like that. I know all those guys. And they're like, we can't move these things because they're $700 here in Canada for a Switch 2, right? And so when you look at that, and now you're talking about triple that. So I think that the financial aspect is actually going to far outweigh what can I access and what can I not access at this point. People will just simply not have the choice. So you see what I mean? Like, we could talk about this stuff, and it is interesting. But I think that financial wall for most next gen, that's going to include the Steam machine, not just Xbox. That's going to include Steam machine, Xbox, and whatever Sony decides to do. A lot of people are going to balk, right? And then continue to support that software, the current software. Now, I have a question for you, though. Now that's come up,
just back before you ask yours,
sure.
Let me just pad that for that, because that was half the question. The other half of that question is,
okay.
if the console, it's just a mirror though. If the console subsystem is a next generation Xbox and is the successor to the Xbox Series X and S, which if you look at that from the business case, actually wouldn't make sense because devs have been skipping Xbox, right? But let's just say, for instance, it is. Then again, why do I need this PC side? Like, if you're continuing the lineage and the DNA forward of the Xbox console, why do I need it paired with this PC thing? And why am I not being given the option to just buy the console? And maybe the answer to that is, well, because people skip the console. I'm like, okay, great, but the value prop you're telling me is that you're selling me both because you really can't afford to sell one by themselves. But that means that what I'm doing is I'm actually subsidizing you carrying your hardware business forward. Like, in a way, like, it's kind of a reverse subsidy, right? It used to be they used to subsidize the console. Now I'm subsidizing the console, right? And that changes kind of the math and the optics on it. But I'm sorry, go ahead. I got time for you to ask your question before I go.
No. I was just going to ask you. I was just going to ask you at that point. Let's say as a developer, let's just say people say, okay, well, for multiple reasons, for the reasons you mentioned, the reasons I mentioned. if they say, listen, I'm holding on to this current hardware, what is the motivation to develop or to work on the next generation hardware? If most people are not adopting and they're staying in the current gen, or do you just start from the current gen and scale up as you would as like someone who's like, for example, developing for a PC? Because I mean, the PC has such a wide range of power, right? So
there's
I'm curious.
There's a few reasons why that might still be advantageous to a developer.
Okay.
If I'm going to try and build a thing that's going to run on this thing called an Xbox, and the PC side of it is just one member of the Wild West stampede that is PC, maybe I do go ahead, if Xbox makes it easy for me in particular, maybe I do go ahead and spool the next gen console version of that because it's the safer bet. Because the PC version may go over there and just be some freaking Tasmanian devil, right? But the console version will be locked down, will be stable, may have a better chance of being performant. And that's going to be sold in the Xbox store, and Xbox is going to give me a higher revenue share than Steam is.
Cool. All right.
So there's reasons they're at the edge, right? And it's still all this stuff is a gamble, risk mitigation, right? You're going to quantify your risk, make your call. But the reasons why you might potentially do a console version aren't zero, right? There's something there for people to scratch at. And so it's really just a matter of what is it? What are the deployment options? What are the build options? And then where can I put them in a store? And does it, if I put them in your store, does that mean it has to be a Play Anywhere title? I think a thing that's going to come up is this whole thing about you can play these games everywhere, they play them, whatever. It's going to be a bit of a system shock because you're bringing in people who are not anointed in this space, and you're going to get crooked looks from console gamers coming in, even of the faithful, who come in and buy that game in the Xbox store when they realize that they can't, that they can't run that. If they could, it probably won't make a difference because they probably won't have this gear. But my point is, you're going to buy the thing in the Xbox store and you're not going to be able to run it on a Steam Deck, for instance. Right. In fact, you won't even be, not saying you would have both, but you wouldn't be able to run it on a Steam machine. But my point is that there's no discussion that's happening now about licensing and entitlements, and there's very much an attempt to kind of blur the lines between entitlements and versioning. And I think eventually at some point, right, that's going to blend into the customer confusion that happens, like we had with the ROG Ally, right, in terms of, what will run there and what won't run there.
Yeah. So,
I apologize. I gotta drop. But good conversation. Hopefully, Bag. I'd love to continue talking to you about it at some point. But yeah,
it's all good, brother.
Oh, Logic, man. I had a follow-up question, man. But I'll
go ahead.
I was gonna loan BRAP.
Well, because I was gonna ask you a question. Like, you talk about these storefronts. Like, then is there a different certification process then for the storefronts, Steam versus the Xbox store? Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's minor things. I mean, look. Part of the language, Steam doesn't give a fuck what you publish in their store.
No, they actually they really don't.
There's like the certification and process is sign the publisher agreement and then publish your game.
That's why there's so much shovelware that platform.
And if there's a problem, the huge change that Steam made in 2018 was they stopped governing and doing app approvals on the front end, kind of like the Apple App Store does it, right? What Valve shifted to was, well, what they said at the time was it's not our job to tell gamers what games they can play or publishers what types of games they can publish. If a game gets out of the wild, right, and it's a problem, right, we find out it's got just crazy, it's just a murder simulator, right, in the grossest, most, it's a Dexter simulator, right, then we'll take action post publishing. And that's why all the stories that you've seen about Steam over the last 7 years have always been about how they've taken action after a game has been published and gone on sale. So yeah, there will be that difference. I don't think the certification, there's some certification. My sense of it is the cert process on the Xbox App Store on PC is less of a freaking Laugh Olympics obstacle course like it is for the console. So I think that will be fine for people. I don't think that's going to be, again, that effort won't be zero, but I don't think it's going to be some mountain for people either.
Yeah, before you go, Logic, what are the things that, as you were talking about developers and what this thing could be, and it almost seems like it's you talk about a closed box. I forget how you refer to it as, but it seems like a closed or controlled like version of a Windows gaming PC.
You talk the PC side of it or the console subsystem?
I'm talking about Helix. Just generally speaking of Helix.
Yeah, I mean again, that's part of the question, right? Is the PC side that locked down? Because as a great, for instance, right, one of the things I would like to get in,
it almost seems like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to. It almost seems like it is because of the lock specifications of the hardware. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
They've said they're configuring it that way. They haven't said that's what is going to be the developer facing side of it. They haven't said to the developer their apps you're going to be able to deploy to these things, or their apps. Like, as far as I can tell, it's a PC. That means you can run OBS on it, you can run Audacity on it, you can run Creative Cloud on it. I mean, that's what I assume. Now, again, if I'm a developer sitting on the crowd today, you didn't tell me anything, because if you can't run those things on it, that makes a huge difference. Particularly if I'm a content creator, because what you should absolutely not be doing is selling me a box that's $1,000, $1,200, $1,300, and then I can't concurrently use it as a streaming and capture machine and run all of my apps. Right? If I have to use this thing and then I still have to have a PC so I can run OBS and audio capture and video capture and be my streaming box, that makes a difference. Again, that's a small part of the market. But again, you're targeting a super small part of the market, and you're targeting a bunch of diehards and influencers who are in that content creator space. So those are the types of things to me that are like pertinent, right? Because that was advertised as a huge advantage to this generation of console, right? That they could stream your stuff to YouTube, that they could do captures and push your stuff up to YouTube. That needs to be part of the conversation too at some point.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Logic. It's a great point. Well,
okay.
We'll have to finish this conversation another time. I know you got to go, but as always, Logic, appreciate your insight.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mag. It was definitely good to hear your perspective. Like I said, I hope to get the chance to bounce things off.
Buddy. That was you made me go cross-eyed at one point. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about. But no, I was starting to figure it out after a while. But very fascinating stuff. But yes, we will do it again sometime. But go do your thing, man.
All right,
I'll take the reins from here with BRAP. All good.
All right, that's Game Logic. Let me grab these super chats here real quick, Mac. We have the Gaming Ledger with the $10 Canadian.
What's up, Game Ledger?
I think people are missing a pretty key reason why Xbox is following Microsoft's other product line, software and services. They want people to use their toolkits for Azure and other development services. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, I think that was kind of part of my takeaway too, kind of streamlining development pipeline using Xbox tools to be able to, because they've I mean, like, Mag, I feel like they've been giving us, this is what drives me crazy, Mag. They've been giving us the playbook, right, for a long time. Games everywhere, right? Everything's an Xbox. Well, how do you get to that point, right? Like, it doesn't happen through osmosis. It happens on the back end. And how developers are developing and the streamlining of this development pipeline. I think that's what's happening. But
that's something I've been saying for well before they even started talking about this. I said, what I thought they were going to do was it was going to be PC based or whatever, or just so that the development could be easier once Project Latitude took off. Because then at that point, you're putting a lot of pressure on people to develop for in limited, in limited cases, the Switch too. The PS5 and the Pro, and then the Xbox consoles that are currently active, the Series X and the Series S, and then a next gen on top of that, right? Because you're also going to carry that on into the next gen, and PC. So you're going to have all of those, and I'm like, that's a lot of work, right? And then on top of that, of course, the scaling that goes on with PC, right? Because it's not a closed platform, it's an open platform, so they're going to have to, right? It's a night. I couldn't even imagine having to do all that work. So I think that their plan, and this was something I said, I don't know, about a year ago or something, my thought, and I know Colt and I talked about it, and he's, whether his views changed now that he knows, now that we know what's going on here. But the view at that point was, you'll basically be playing the PC version of Xbox games or whatever going forward, and as a result of that, the development would be more streamlined and a lot easier, right? So it'd be a lot easier, especially for in-house, because let's face it, they're also a huge publisher now. People forget that. That's another thing. Like, a lot of people forget that. Like, yes, people know the games are going over there, but they have positioned themselves as one of the biggest publishers on the planet, right? So at that's a lot. It's going to be a lot of legwork to get all those games out there. They have, I don't know how many active games they have in development right now, 30 whatever studios. And so, you know what I mean? So I think that they were trying to, that also cuts costs. Let's face it. It cuts labor and costs. Those are the number one things, because when the one thing that happened when they took ABK Bethesda, it's what we call the SAG. The SAG is, yes, you're taking on these IPs. Yes, you're taking this, but you're also taking on their rent. You're taking on their benefits. You're taking on their vacations. You're taking on their sick times, their salaries, right? And that's what's called the SAG. Because now you're holding this thing up, but it's kind of buckling on top of you because of the weight of the overhead costs of the company, right? So they're going to cut it any which way they can. And this is only going to get more. I'll tell you right now. I think, well, I'm sure we'll get into it in a bit. But that's why I think Asha's there. And that's why she's not that's why they did not hire a gamer. Okay? Or someone in the game industry. They could have hired 1 million people, Brett. 1 million people from the industry that knows all the people. That was not the play. Satya knew exactly what he was doing when he hired her. He hired someone, he wanted someone from the outside so that there was no, what's the word I'm looking for? Not collusion. Anyway, the word will come to me. Okay. But there was no influence, because now you're coming in completely fresh and out of the, you know what I mean? Out of the industry, looking in from a fresh perspective, as opposed to, well, I don't want to do this over here because my buddy runs this studio.
No,
and my buddy runs that
nepotism, I
studio.
believe, is the word you're looking for.
Maybe, but I don't know. Anyway, she was not hired by accident, right? No. But like I said, I think it was because so that there was no influence on her, and she couldn't be corrupted by her colleagues, like, because she don't know them.
Well, I mean, she doesn't have, Phil clearly had emotional connection ties to
that's what
Xbox,
I'm saying,
and he's a gamer, and so probably looking at it a bit from the fan perspective too. But she's not that. She's someone's going to come in, evaluate the business, and make some tough decisions, which frankly should have happened a long time ago.
Yes. That's why I'll tell you right now, I kind of like this idea. I've been talking to a couple people who are actually rubbing elbows with her now, and I'm trying to gauge how she moves. You know what I mean? Like, because I mean, you know how Phil moved, and he's been there forever, 38 years. I mean, my God, I couldn't imagine working somewhere for 38 years. But either way, he did it, and you knew how he moved, right? Because we've been watching it for multiple generations. But her, I'm trying to learn what she's like. You know what I mean? I want to see her mind. I'm trying to understand her mind, where she's going with things or whatever. And I've talked to some people who are actually working with her currently right now, and they're telling me that she's very nice, very interested. However, no nonsense. Like, she's going to ask those tough questions, right? And I know this kind of conversation sort of developed into this category that we're talking about now, but it's very interesting stuff. And so it says she's very fluid. These are the exact words that were sent to me. Very fluid and willing to try different things, and not be just sort of set in the way of, no, we're doing this and that's all there is to it. So she's willing to pivot, right? If there's something that needs to be, needs to be pivoted. For example, she did say the plan's the plan until it's not the plan, right? That was no accident either, by saying something like that, which means she could turn on a dime and say, you know what, this is not going to work. Let's do this instead, or whatever. However, now that she's on the booty tour with Matt, and they're going to all the studios, right?
You just call it the booty tour?
I call it the booty tour because it's her and Matt Booty. They're doing the world tour, right? They're going to all the studios. The interesting thing that's going to happen there, and this is why I like her. I'll tell you exactly what's happening. She's going to walk in and be like, hey, guys, how's it going? I saw you guys made 2 IPs in the last 3 years. Wonderful stuff. Yeah, great. How come no one's playing your game? Dude, I'm telling you, that's exactly what's going down.
I mean, that's a fair question. I mean, and given
Jay, Jay, you're right in the chat, buddy. You're right.
I missed.
He said he wanted more control. In my opinion, Phil fought back too much. Well, Phil did a lot. Like there was a huge argument inside Microsoft about Call of Duty and Game Pass, and the brass did not want it. Phil fought tooth and nail to get Call of Duty into Game Pass, and I'm not going to say it backfired, but it certainly cut into a potential profit, right? So, like, essentially, they didn't lose $300 million when they talked about Black Ops 7. Was it 7 or 6? Whichever one. It was potential sales. So, yeah, you're not wrong. He was a lot of fight in him, where she's going to be in control, but I think that she's more in line with Satya's thinking, and that's another reason why he hired her. So anyways, what I'm understanding from her is that like she's going in there and saying, all right, what do we got here? Avowed. Okay, great. What did it score? An 84 Metacritic. All right, not bad. Not bad. That's actually great. How come no one's playing your game? And she's just going to sit there and stare at you, and she's going to stare at you with no blinking.
Well, no, because they need to understand why. She needs to understand why, because you look at, like, if you look at her background, right?
Yeah.
Her background's really driving engagement in, digital ecosystems, right? Digital store, like that's her thing. It's so that's a valid question. Why aren't people playing our games inside our ecosystem? What's happening? Now, I gave you my theory.
Not just there. It's even outside of the ecosystem. Inside the ecosystem, yes. I mean, if you look at those numbers, I know some people have actually pulled those up. If you actually plug in well, I can't do it, but someone had put AI into the achievement system. You remember I talked about this a long time ago before before even AI integration. I said, if you want a bird's eye view of the engagement that's going on with, let's say, first party games going on in Game Pass, just look at the percentage of achievements, right? The achievements that have been popped by players. Look at the percentage. When you get into a game like Hi-Fi Rush, which people were having ticker tape parades about, 12% didn't even get to level 2. Sorry, excuse me. Only 12% got to level 2. Right? That means 88% of people did not get past the first level. And it's not because they didn't get past the first level. They're just like, yeah, okay, I get it. And then just move on to something else. Right. And so the engagement's not there. And so what's happening is she is going. This is why I like her. I like her. I'm telling you right now, I like her. I think she's going to tear it apart because she's looking at all the metrics. I know somebody who said, by the way, but there will be no exclusives. That's not happening. However, she's not open to the idea, but she wants 18 to 24 months of data before she even thinks about it. So I could tell you right now, you could have 2 years of there's no chance exclusives are coming back. The other reason why is this ties into what I was just saying. When we were talking about engagement, why do you think Project Latitude happened? It didn't happen by a fluke.
No.
It happened because the engagement wasn't there, so they had to spread it out and open the audience. Very similar to 2016 when they moved to PC to open, you know what I mean? To open and broaden the market from there to maximize profit and sales, right? And so that's why Latitude happened. So it's interesting. And the other thing is, Asha, I said this on Monday, actually, on XNC, and I said it to Cold, I said, dude, it's like when you go to the dentist is not going to come in and look at your 4 perfect teeth and go, we're good, and then just leave, right? They're going to look for the rot. They're going to look for the cavities, right? With the little poker stick and the stupid little mirror. That's what they're doing. They're looking for the rot. She's looking for the rot. She doesn't care about the superficial issues. She is looking for the deeper issues and wants to get to the bottom of it and start from there and build up from there. And that's why I think she's the best. I think she's the best thing that could happen to that company for a long time. I'm just telling you now, that's what I think it is. And she's going to you can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs, BRAP. Okay? And it's going to happen. You watch over this year. Now, this year, she's got a layup. Okay? She didn't even have to go to bat. She just got walked in on bases loaded because she's got 5 big AAA games coming out this year, right? This is not a great year for metrics for them because they're like, well, assuming the software is good, it's going to be a very successful year, right? Because you've got Gears, you've got Forza, which does huge numbers, right? Everywhere. Gears, Forza, Modern Warfare 4, Fable, and Halo. Okay, you got those 5 games right there. And we're not going to include GTA 6 because that's a third-party game. But you see what I'm getting at? That's a bit of a layup. So you're going to get the metrics from that year. And I think that's why she wants another year on top of that. You see what I'm saying? She wants another year on top of that saying, okay, I recognize that there's 5 big AAA flagship titles, by the way. 4 out of the 5 are flagship titles. I want you to think about 2026 for a second. You want to talk about a challenge? This is the challenge that she's got. They're going to walk into 27 after a very successful. I have no doubt in my mind that 2026 is going to be a very successful year for Xbox as an ecosystem and for publishing. Okay, I like to make that clear. 2027, what are you releasing? You know what I mean? I'm asking you, what are they releasing?
No, I don't know.
Clockwork
Clockwork
Revolution.
Revolution,
Nobody knows what the hell that game is. I mean, people know about, like, the hardcore know because we watch the showcases, right? We watch the trailers. The general public's never heard of it. State of Decay 3, and then what else? Maybe Blade and expensive hardware. So her challenge is not 26. Her challenge is going to be 27. You see what I'm getting at? Because this year, Xbox basically set her up with like I said, they set her up with a layup. Okay, easy peasy. She got a breakaway. It's 27 that you're going to see how this is all going to play out. Because when you've got Clockwork Revolution, maybe State of Decay 3, maybe Blade, and of course a Call of Duty, and expensive hardware that you're trying to peddle, let me see you work your magic. Because that's going to be the telling. That's going to be the telling year, and that's why she said, "I want 18 to 24 months before they even readdress the topic of, like, exclusive, for example."
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Mag. That from a publishing perspective, the titles you listed, Halo, Fable, obviously Call of Duty, the Juggernaut. What was the other one?
Call of Duty doesn't have a free ride either, eh? Because remember, you're only as good as your last game. The same thing with movies, right? You're only as good as your last movie or your last whatever. And the last one was fucking abysmal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it wasn't good, but
right. And so now people are going to be a little hesitant going, all right, with their arms crossed, and they're going to go, prove to me that this is awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, Modern Warfare 4, that kind of helps because everybody usually, generally likes that series. Modern Warfare 3 was not good at all, but they're going to have to go back to form, right? So it's going to be interesting to see. But either way, the other one was, what did I say? We said Call of Duty, Fable, Forza. Call of Duty, Halo, Forza, Gears.
Honestly, Mag, I don't think Gears is going to be a big retail success for them. Only because
I don't know what's going to be.
Just because the last Gears hasn't sold well. Well, the last couple Gears,
they were only available in the one spot.
They were, yeah. I just don't know if that gameplay design mechanic still resonates well in 2026.
Right.
Like I love Gears, but I just find the gameplay design a little bit antiquated. Like, it worked in 2007. It was great.
Well, because it was a novelty, right? Like,
it just doesn't
seen anything like that before.
Yeah, now it just like roadie run, shooting gallery, cutscene, roadie run.
Right.
Like, I
see what you're saying.
I don't know if that works. I just don't know if that works today. I'm not saying that, like, it won't be a good Gears game. I just don't know if it's going to have broad like Halo. I think is going to do very well. Really, because it's especially on PlayStation. I think it's going to sell gangbusters on PlayStation.
You think so? I mean, it's going to be cheaper too, so that's going to help
on PlayStation. Yeah,
right. And the thing is, funny enough, I actually called that last year. I said I think that Halo is good. Halo or whatever it's called, Campaign Revolved. I actually think that Halo is going to sell way more than Gears of War Reloaded will on PlayStation. So, and the funny thing is, if you actually went to the PlayStation Store at one point, like I'm talking like the desktop store, not like from your app or whatever. I went to the desktop thing, and there was Master Chief front and center. He was right there, right? And so he was there holding his gun, and I'm like, wow, like, who would ever thought? I took a picture of it because I'm like, how often would you ever see that, right? That's pretty wild. I think it's going to do very well, and of course, they're going to price it appropriately. It's going to be $40. There's no multiplayer. It's not a new game, right? So it hasn't been budgeted the same as a new game. So that's very interesting. Oh, by the way, I just want to point something else out that I spoke to someone in Microsoft pretty high up. The other reason why there's no chance that they're going to reverse any kind of exclusivity, 2 reasons. And this came from them. This didn't come from me, okay? So before everybody goes nuts, is that there's not the player base is not big enough to sustain exclusives. You need double of what they've got right now. So if you're talking about 30 million, around 30 million, and then on top of that, the PC crowd, right? Well, you would need about 60 to 65 million plus the PC crowd in order to sustain exclusivity, right? The other problem is Game Pass. The other, we discussed that as too. Even Colt is just like, and a lot of Xbox guys are starting to say, maybe Game Pass is not a good idea, right?
I mean,
Matt, there's a lot of pushback on it, dude.
We've been saying this for years.
I know, but
mean,
people are starting to come around, dude.
When Strauss Zelnick and Bobby Kotick and Sean Layden say, "Hey, putting AAA games in a subscription service day and date doesn't make financial sense,
right?
Because there aren't enough pennies, quarters." Sean Layden didn't say pennies, said quarters. Enough quarters to go around. It's not free money. You got to pay for licensing. You got to pay for development cost.
Right.
You're basically cannibalizing. I mean, you look at Call of Duty. I mean, you've cannibalized $70 worth of games. And I think what was it, 300 million loss in revenue. Yeah, I mean, like, it's like
it's being looked at, and I think people are starting to come around and saying, you know what? And I mean, there are people out there. Like, I mean, I watch everything, right? I watch Xbox shows, I watch PlayStation shows, I watch, whatever, general gaming shows, neutral shows, whatever you want to call them. And there are still people out there saying, hey, man, I love my Game Pass and this and that, whatever. And it's great value for me. Great. That's totally fine. But you're starting to see a lot of people are starting to come around and just saying, you know what? Maybe this wasn't the play. Because you know what I mean? Now it's it's affecting. That's the other thing is, like I said, that's why Project Latitude happened. Project Latitude happened not because of Game Pass. It kind of did. It's just that people were not purchasing the product anymore and they weren't making the same margins anymore. Right. And by the way, another reason why there won't be exclusivity, and like, again, this came from the horse's mouth, is that the budgets for all the games that are currently in development, those budgets, by the way, just so everybody knows, those budgets have already been implemented with a PS5 port. So all the games that they're working on now, their budgets are included in those budgets, are the PS5 ports. So they're not going to reverse that. It's already been set in stone, so to speak. So I thought that would be something interesting.
Yeah, that's great insight there, Mag. Let me grab the super chat here.
Sure.
From Bespoke EP with the look at that Canadian $10 super chat. Some of your fellow countrymen.
A lot of Canadians in here tonight. Two of them already. What the hell?
Yeah. Tom Ward said that Microsoft says you build next gen Xbox games by building them for PC. Notice how Jay Ronald didn't say dev kit. Those Helix Alpha are simply to test if it will work with the hardware. Thank you for that super chat, Bespoke. Yeah, everyone's heard my stance, hey, what's going on, Nate? And Nate, check your DM, by the way. I've been saying this, Mac, that this thing's a PC. I know some people are like, oh, it doesn't matter. Why does it matter as long as it plays Xbox games? I'm like, no, it does matter, because if it is PC-like, right? If it is a PC, it's based on PC, it's basically a closed Windows platform, PC platform. That begs the question, is it going to behave like a console? And I think that when people go out and buy consoles, they're buying consoles for one, price. I think it's a big one, right? And two, just simplicity, right? Plug and play. You don't have to worry about, if you own a PC, you don't have to worry about tinkering around with settings, although some of those features have made their way to console with some games where you can kind of tweak settings. But yeah, I mean, like, if you're someone like me, I've got a 3070, an older GPU. I do a lot of tweaking now. Like a lot of going in, messing around with the settings. I got MSI Afterburner running, so I'm checking my frames per second. If my frames are off, I see too much frame dip, then I'm going back and, recalibrating my settings. I mean, and so most console consumers aren't looking to do that. They're not looking to be their own, in-home sysadmin. Like they don't want that. So, I think that's important. It's one of those questions, right? We should ask, like, is this thing going to behave like a like an Xbox console, or give that Xbox console experience? It almost seems like they're hinting at that. One of the things they said, starting, I think, was it next month? I think it's April, in select regions, the Xbox big picture mode or Xbox dashboard will be launched on Windows 11. So I'm wondering if that's kind of a preview, right, of how Helix might behave when you power it up. If it's something like, be interesting to see if it's something like the ROG Ally X, where you have the Xbox app. But I think those are important things to discuss, to think about, to ask, because that is a different experience from what the traditional consoles consumer would expect. I think if you are somebody that's a traditional console consumer, you're in that Xbox ecosystem, you're going to want things to behave very similar. You're not going to want to tinker. You're not going to want to figure out where my games are. You're not going to figure out, why this app doesn't work, or why it works on my Series X but doesn't work on the new Helix.
Right.
it almost needs to be a one-to-one experience for some consumers.
Yeah.
And the other thing is price.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
well,
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Sorry, you're gonna say price? Yep.
Yeah, because you mentioned like $1,200 to $1,500, right? Like
Well,
I
that's an internal. Now, hold on. That's an internal with current pricing. It was
Okay.
it's not set in stone. It was something that was presented to the board, and
Okay.
that my guy was sitting at that table when they presented that. So when he told me about that, he says, "Now this is not solid." He says, "But he goes the proposed prices based on current prices in the market." Were between $1,200 and $1,500. Now they also said that it may and most likely will go down depending on how much they buy. That's the other thing. That's something that actually is rather important too. There are a lot of factors in here internally as well. And I know some people don't like hearing it, but I mean, if you think about it logically for a second, it actually makes sense. They internally projected less than 10 million of those consoles will sell. Okay. So they're not expecting a gangbusters. You know what I mean? They're not expecting a gangbusters like 25 mil in the first year to appease the hardcore and then slowly move up from there as, your traditional console generation goes. That is not indeed the case. They're expecting this to be a very niche product for a percentage of the hardcore, not all the hardcore, a percentage. So if you think about the hardcore is approximately about 15% of the industry, right? So they're expecting about maybe 3 to 5% of the 15% hardcore are going to adopt something at those prices. So this is from within. This is not from MAG. This is from Microsoft. Okay, so I just want to put that in perspective. This is coming from them. Now, again, those could change as well, right? Those could go up. They might lower it down. They might charge $750 for it. But I mean, like I said, once again, if you look at the entire situation, they're already charging $750 for the Series X 2 terabyte now. They charge $1,000. I'll buy it. I mean, the lithium battery probably has a lot to do with it. But, the $1,000 for the handheld now, what would make you think that something more powerful that's going to sit on your desk or whatever in your living room is going to be cheaper than that? I don't see it. And that's going to affect that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of those sales. Those sales... If you're only hitting if they're thinking that it's only going to be hit about anywhere between, anywhere, let's say around 10 million lifetime, no, man, that's going to affect a lot in the end, right? Price is king, and it always will be, and it's never going to change because the hardcore do not carry the industry. BRAP, you know this, I know this, because the 85% casuals literally win the day just by sheer numbers. It's just the numbers. Right? They just outnumber us. And when something takes off in the casual market, that's when it explodes. When did Fortnite take off? Did it take off with the hardcores who are playing Fortnite from the beginning? No. It's when everybody and their mothers and on cell phones, on tablets, on screens, on laptops, on consoles, when that took off, children, when all those things took off, and of course free to play didn't help. Didn't hurt, right? That's when it took off. And that and you know what I mean? And so that's the same thing here. You're talking about a small percentage of the hardcore is expected to adopt this thing. You're not going to be able to sustain beyond that 10%. So exclusives are out of the question. Expansion is out of the question. It's going to be a product to offer some, not all. Anyways. I hope that was somewhat insightful.
Yeah, no, it was. The one thing I'll say that
Yeah, so it's not doom and glooming either.
No,
and
no,
that's
it's
not like,
no.
but some people misinterpret that. And I just like, listen, man, it's not some doom and glooming thing. I want them to succeed. I want them to do well because competition breeds excellence. However, you're facing a new situation. And this is something Colt and I were talking about actually on Monday is, for example, Microsoft is no longer in competition with Sony. They're literally working together. I mean, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? Sony's making 30% of games that Microsoft is making that's going to make them literally billions of dollars. Right? I mean, I think Forza Horizon 6 is going to be a massive game for PlayStation. And it's going to be a massive game for the 70% of those publishing fees that Microsoft is going to earn from that. Right? If you think about Forza Horizon 5 sold 5 million copies on a 4-year-old racing game. 5 million copies they sold on the PlayStation of a 4-year-old racing game. Imagine something that actually sort of carries on that, let's say, the PlayStation culture, Japan. The game takes place in Japan, and it's a brand new one. It's going to be a monster hit, right? So they're making money. They're no longer in competition. And Xbox will not be in competition. Colt asked me that. He says, on Monday, he says, is Xbox in competition with PlayStation? I said, absolutely not. There is no competition there. However, there is a new fighter in the ring, and it's the Steam machine. And this is going to govern a lot of stuff going forward, BRAP. And this is something I wanted to just kind of touch on here. The Steam machine is expected to launch in this year, correct? And a lot of people wanted to utilize that to access, obviously, Steam, and of course, third-party games. You'll be able to access Xbox, the limited amount of PlayStations, and your Steam library, right? So that's going to be the new fight in the living room, and I think it's going to be the PC-based or whatever the hell you want to call it. These new consoles, these new boxes. It's going to be a new war. It's going to be Steam and Xbox are now going to be in competition with each other. That's a very interesting new dynamic that I didn't see coming. However, here's the thing. If Steam prices this thing reasonably, which I'm not really sure they will, but that's why they delayed it so many times. Not because it's not ready. They're trying to delay so that they can get better prices on the hardware, on the RAM specifically. But if people invest in that this year, they get a 1-year jump on Xbox. Then the people, why would you think that if anybody's going to spend, let's say, anywhere between $800 and $1,000 for a Steam machine, are going to plunk down another $1,000+ literally 11 months later? You don't see what I'm saying now?
Mm-hmm.
So that is the jump. That's the jump that Steam or Valve might get on them. And that's why I said, as radical as it is, I said, you know what? They're not going to sell a whole lot of those Xboxes anyway at those prices. It's going to sell like the ROG Xbox Ally. And then what they could start with is maybe like 200,000 units, and then just slowly implement more over time as demand asks for it, right? Or as demand grows for it, assuming that happens. And that's what I said, you know what? Release 100,000 Xboxes this year. Fuck, just do it. Do it. Start them off. You know what I'm saying? Start them off. Release 100,000 of them this year.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Because otherwise they're going to get an entire year jump on you.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, let me ask the consumers in the chat. You guys are consumers, right? You guys are gamers. Okay, everybody in the chat right now. If you pay anywhere between $800 and $1,000 this year for a Steam machine, and I know you'd have to, you won't get Game Pass on your Steam machine, but you're able to buy the Xbox games that you want and everything else, and the limited PlayStation games and the Steam games. Now, the thing is, would you be willing, and put a yes or no, would you be willing to drop another $1,000 11 months later for the Xbox version of that? Regardless of power, I'm not talking about, it has nothing to do with power, features. That means nothing at the end of the day. It really doesn't, BRAP. Means fuck all. You know what means everything? Price and prudency. When you go to the dealership to go look at a car, okay, what do you say to them? I mean, you want the basics, right? What's the horsepower? Is it 4-wheel drive? What are some of the features?
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically it, right? Okay, cool story. What does it do? And how much does it cost? Are those not the number one things that every consumer does when they go to either a store or a car dealership or anything that they do? Cool story. I don't need to rip open the hood and look at every fucking hose that's inside. Excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to look at every hose and go, well, this, the valve 16 heading over to the windshield washer fluid. I don't know. It's a little bit better on the Toyota. Are you kidding? What does it do? How much does it cost? And that's what is all of this. All of this is bullshit. All of it is just nonsense. It's at the end of the day, price is king. And consumers will make a decision based on what they want in the foremost in terms of basic features and affordability.
Mm-hmm.
That is why Switch always did well until the Switch 2. Switch 2, they're like, oh, well, it's the fastest selling console in America. Yeah, because there was no shortage.
Mm-hmm.
You had them right away. So your 15% hardcore immediately adopted it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's sold so fast, because you know how Nintendo is. Traditionally, for the last six or seven generations, every time they release them, they sold out, and then you can't get one for 6 months, right? So
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They had them in there. They're stacked up in stores. No one's buying them because they're too goddamn expensive. The sales have cooled off significantly on the Switch too. So that being the case, all this means nothing. So I'm asking the chat here. Let's see what we got going on. I see a no. I see a no. I see 2 no's. How many? What are there? 2 people in the chat?
More than 2. We got over 100 people.
Okay, well, if you got over 100 people, I want to see a bunch of Y's or N's.
Yeah.
Let me see what's going on.
Let's get some
I'm
chat
asking.
participation here. Yeah.
Hey,
Another-
hero down under. How are you, mate? The thing is, like I said, if you do purchase a Steam machine, would you be willing to spend another $1,000 a year later? That's all I'm asking.
I'm actually not interested in the Steam machine whatsoever. it looks like an intriguing device. I like the form factor and the
Right.
custom place, but it's not my bag. I mean, I'm
Dude, I don't need hardware. I'm
Yeah.
totally fine. I've got a Series X, a Series S. I got a
Mhm.
capable PC, 3000 series PC, but I don't use it for gaming. I use that strictly for YouTube because I want the horsepower for YouTube, right? When I do my streaming and everything else. And I have a PS5 Pro and I have a Switch too. I'm good. I don't even need hardware next year. I'm totally fine. Right? I'm good for a couple of years. But eventually it's going to get to the point where we are going to have to make decisions as we move forward in this hobby because let's face it, the hobby's expensive and the technology is always improving, right? So it's going to be a very interesting year. All I'm seeing is a whole bunch of no's. So and that's like I said, that's not for some like console war nonsense. I'm asking like simple, logic and prudency when it comes to your finances. I mean, this is your money. It's not like it's free. This is not a philosophical question. These are financial decisions, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's important. And now people are going to start to have to make those financial decisions because of the prices. In my chat, when I do Magcast, I talk to a lot of guys out there and they're like, man, listen, I'm an Xbox guy. I have everybody in my chat, Xbox guys, PlayStation guys, PC guys, everybody comes to the show. We don't lean too far one or the other. I just call it like it is. And if it hurts someone's feelings, too bad, so sad. But either way, the thing is that a lot of them in the chat are saying, hey man, I'm a hardcore Xbox guy and I can't afford that if they charge that much. That's a reality for a lot of people, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so it's going to be very telling. And that's why I told everybody, I said, listen, man, this is not some like, oh, Mag, you're a pony or some shit like that. I said, listen, the PS5 Pro and the Slim are on. I didn't say the Slim. I just say get the PS5 Pro. It was on sale. Up here, it was $125 off. Okay, for months.
Oh, wow.
2 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
2 months. From Black Friday all the way till, well, we have Boxing Day here in Canada. It's the day after Christmas, right? The guys in the UK know what I'm talking about. And as a result of that, I said, just get it. Because you're never going to see a deal like that again, ever again for the rest of your life. And you'll at least get minimum 5 more years out of that hardware. Because they're going to do that PSSR2, you're going to play incredible experiences, and it's going to be supported at least 3 years into the next generation. Right.
Yeah.
So at that point, you got minimum 5, maybe even 6 years. The series consoles, by the way, anybody in the chat who has Xboxes, the series consoles will be supported into the 2030s. And then after that, there is a possibility, not confirmed, but a possibility that they may actually even use those as a beacon or an access point for cloud streaming in the future as that continues to improve.
Mhm.
Right. So that is very interesting. So they're giving you options. This is not the end all. I'll say that in a positive way. At least Xbox is going to give you the option saying, listen, if you can't afford the Helix, we have other accessibility points. Usher said it herself. Usher. She said it herself.
Yeah.
She said, we will bring the experience to you. Right? And then, actually, if you hold on, where is it right here? I got right here. Listen to this. I want you to listen to this. I took a screenshot of it because I had to. Okay, where the hell is it? No, not the screenshots of Pornhub or my favorite scenes. What am I looking for here? Asha, here we go. Listen what she says. Our commitment to the return of Xbox, you ready for this, folks? Including Project Helix.
Mhm.
She did not say only Project Helix. She said including.
Yeah.
Okay, which means that is one facet of many. So if you're not able to afford a high-end, expensive, albeit powerful console, or whatever you want to call it, you can call it a PC, call it a console, I don't give a shit. Or there's other accessibility points if you want to do it. Now, that is going to be the job of the 2 new marketing guys that she hired. The 2 marketing specialists should have hired me, but whatever. I put myself out there. I even put myself out. I said, listen, fly me down. I'll sit down and talk to you. I'll show you what's what. I'll have like Resident Evil things like they have like in Times Square. You see the Resident Evil, they have the big thing with the liquors in the virtual window, and then in London they had like that window with all the zombie arms coming out and shit. That's amazing, right? Anyways, whatever. The point is, you got these 2 new marketing guys. Guess what their job is? It's not going to sell the Helix. You're not going to sell the Helix. It doesn't matter. You're going to sell the Helix to the hardcore. They're there for it. The regular public is going to look at that. Joe Sixpack is going to walk into GameStop and says, "I need a console for my son." He's going to look over and see, at least from my, in my country, like an almost $2,000 console. He'd be like, "Yeah, okay, little Johnny's not getting that. What else? What else you got?" Right? And so the marketing guys are going to have to market accessibility. You're going to have to talk about cloud. You're going to have to talk about you don't need a console. You have a I know they tried that before. Everything's an Xbox, but that failed. They're going to have to approach it a different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But number one thing, once again, sorry, I'm talking so fucking much. The one thing at the end of the day is none of this really matters unless you have compelling software. And that
110%.
What I'm hearing from inside the camp is that obviously she's looking at everything. By the way, she's also looking, this is not, someone went wild when we did a special XNC on the Friday. I said she's looking at Game Pass. Doesn't mean she's doing anything, but she's examining the weaknesses and the lack of growth. And she's obviously, her job is to investigate all of it.
Absolutely.
So apparently one of the things that she's eyeballing really hard is Game Pass. So she's looking at that as well. However, at the end of the day, what I'm also hearing is that she's focusing on the lack of engagement of their software. And the words that I'm hearing from inside the camp is, where's the disconnect between our software and the gamer? And that's what she's exploring. That is awesome. Because if you want better for Xbox for the win, I see you in the chat. Okay? Xbox for the win. If you want Xbox to be better, then you need to face the hard truths, and they have to be just like going to rehab. When you go to, I've never been to rehab, but you go to rehab, they peel the onion back. Okay. All right, BRAP. Why are you like this? Why are you on cocaine? Okay, we're going to peel this layer back.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying, like, as an example, right?
Why
and then all of a sudden, then you go, then they're going to peel another layer back.
Oh my God.
And then another layer back, and then another layer. And then they're going to get to when you were 4 years old or something. There's something that traumatized you, got bit by a dog. I don't know, whatever. And then that's what they do. That is what she's doing. So if you want better for Xbox, anybody who wants Xbox out there, then you're going to have to face the hard truths and not ignore them anymore. And one of those things that she's examining right now is, where is the disconnect between the players and our software? Very interesting. the real innate. He goes, "Why are you on cocaine?" You see what happens? You even just use an example that's not true, and all of a sudden that's it. BRAP's on coke, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. There it is.
Oh my God. I'm not on coke.
But what do you think of that? Apparently that's the story. The story is she's examining the disconnect from the gamer and the software on their side.
I think that's where you need to look. I mean, if you look at the financials, right? You look at Q2 2026, content services being down -4%. That's their core business right there, right? So year over year for that quarter, they're down 4% in their core business. Overall gaming revenues down 9% year over year Q2. Yeah, that's gonna raise some eyebrows, right? Like, what's going on here? I also think, Mag, I not saying I know this to be fact, but I suspect, spitballing here, that Phil Spencer was probably shown the door a little bit early because of those Q2 2026 numbers.
I think it was a bunch of happy accidents, because I think he didn't want to do it anymore. Or maybe what I think happened, and I faced this before myself personally, and that's why I kind of injected myself into that situation. I think that when the people around you are not jiving with you anymore, or you feel like your bosses are just, no matter what you do, even if you're in charge of a division of a corporation and you're getting a lot of pushback from the people above you, the people around you, you know what I mean? Whatever. You sort of get that vibe that you're not welcome anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it's happened to me before. Working for a corporation for the last 14 years. And I got out, by the way, in August, late August. Nobody knows about that. But I was already, for 6 months before I left, is that I was starting to get that vibe that the people who are quote unquote my friends or my colleagues or people who had my back, I was starting to get that sneaking suspicion that everybody was talking about me. Right. And I was getting that kind of thing, that kind of vibe of like, you guys got that suspicious look on you. And it wasn't paranoia. That suspicious look on you, like you talk, you know what I mean? Like people are talking or whatever. And you kind of getting that feeling that like you're not really, you know what I mean? Like they sort of distance themselves for you. I think they did the same thing to him, by the way. And I was right in my situation. You know why? Because when I did leave, all the people that called me their friends at work, it's been, what, 7 months now? You know that not one of them has called me?
Wow.
Not one of them has called me. Not one of them has texted me. I was 100% correct in my assertion. I have a feeling when Phil, because they said that Phil went to Satya somewhere last year and started talking about that, I think that was one of the reasons. He was starting to feel that pressure of, you know what, I'm feeling like I'm not welcome anymore kind of vibe. Right. And then it got to a point where I think Satya, who was already thinking of getting, moving on from him anyway, was probably jumped on that and says, you know what? No, I support you 100%. Yeah, we'll give you a big bag. Basically, like he'll almost seem like he's a little too happy to get to agree with him. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They gave him a big bag for sure, based on his salary. Probably gave him about 2.5 years. He probably walked away with about 25 mil on top of his salary, right? As a retirement bonus, whatever the hell. And wouldn't you take that? I'd take that. You kidding me? I'm out. I'm out. So that's what I think happened. And I think it was coupled with that because I don't think that Satya was happy with the performance either. And the messaging was always a mess. We know that. The marketing is a disaster. I don't know how Greenberg still has a job. I swear to God, I have no idea. Their marketing is atrocious. Now, another thing very interesting. I know two guys from Obsidian told me that the Obsidian, the team, actually sent a letter of complaint to upper management about the lack of marketing of their game, and they're saying that is one of the reasons why their games are not performing. For example, I'm on the PlayStation almost daily because I stream from there a lot. I play on there a lot, especially the Pro. I didn't even know Avowed came out on PS5 until Colt told me.
What?
I had no idea. It wasn't on the front page. It wasn't on it was nowhere to be found. And apparently, not just those two guys. Those two guys told me, but the team themselves was writing a letter of complaint to upper management about the lack of marketing and support for the game, and then they're saying that's one of the reasons why it didn't perform. So pretty wild, eh?
I mean, that's I mean, but it kind of doesn't surprise me coming from Xbox, and
their marketing is atrocious.
Yeah, their marketing's almost non-existent.
Yeah, it's atrocious. Like, what are we talking about here? I mean, you look at like I said, you look at like Capcom, what they do with Resident Evil. Look at like Sony puts Spider-Man on the subways. In New York City on the subway trains, you got Spider-Man all over it. Back in the last generation, they had God of War on the NBA court. And the thing is, when people talk about that now, they're like, oh, well, that happened 8 years ago. Who gives a shit? Well, you know what? It's pretty telling when we're still talking about that 8 years later that was effective marketing, don't you think? Because in that, what marketing does makes you remember. The fact that people still talk about that basketball court situation with God of War means it was effective marketing, right? And you know what I said about Xbox? I even said to Colt right on the show on XNC, an Xbox show. Okay, I said to Colt, I said, when was the last Xbox commercial you remember that was actually good? And he said the one where the lady gives birth to the baby and the baby flies through the air.
Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah,
you remember that shit. And then he turns into an old, like you see him aging as he's flying through the air, and then he turns into an old man, and then he literally flies into a grave, and it says "Life is short, play games." And I said, yes, I remember that. It was amazing. And I'm like, that was 23 years ago. And then someone in the chat, I go, chat, let me know what was your favorite, what was the best Xbox marketing you remember? And people were saying, oh man, without question, Mad World or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, ready for it? Mad World was, You ready for it, kids? That was 21 years ago.
Was it really?
Yes. My favorite commercial was not Mad World. My favorite commercial from Xbox was Halo 3 when there was an old man at a museum. He was like at a war museum. And he's looking at this thing, and these little kids are like, well, what's that? What's that ship? Or this and that, whatever. And then the old man is standing there and he's looking melancholy at that ship. And then it's sort of like does like a Saving Private Ryan thing where it goes back in time. And it was actually, he was there at that battle and he was a veteran.
Yes, I remember that.
Dude, I got goosebumps from that commercial.
That was peak marketing.
The fact that that's been 22 years, excuse me, since that commercial came out. No, sorry, it was 20 years. It was 20 years since that commercial came out, and I still remember it. That is effective marketing. I cannot think of a single Xbox marketing campaign that was that effective in the last 20 years. Right? So therefore, if you think about that, that's another thing that they're missing that they just need. And well, like I said, she's working on it. She hired 2 marketing professionals or whatever the hell they're called, to work on that and bolster the marketing. So let's see if she can pull this thing off. I mean, at least with the marketing thing. I don't think the consoles, they listen, there's no illusion with the console. They know it's expensive and it's not going to sell like huge. It's meant to appease a certain audience, right? That's the whole point of it. They damn well know it. And they openly talk about it. They're not even shy about it. They're like, yeah, this is what this is for. Right? So should be interesting, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be, excuse me. It's going to be interesting to see what changes are enacted here with new leadership. I know people say, oh, you guys are just poo-pooing Xbox.
No, not at all.
No, I don't think so either. And I think a lot of what I often will explain to those who are new to the show is that my perspective is peak Xbox, right? Like Xbox, OG Xbox generation, Xbox 360 generation. Like that was peak Xbox for me. And so
yes,
I experienced Xbox when it was firing on all cylinders, and they had some great marketing, to your point, but more importantly, they had great exclusives. Yes, those things that people say are anniquated are not.
Isn't that funny how that works? I did a whole breakdown. I can't remember if it was on. No, it was. Yeah, no, I did say it on XNC. No, I was actually not shy about it at all. I said, it's kind of funny, and I wasn't talking about the chat because our chat is actually really cool, and my chat on Madcast is really cool, and we were talking about it, and I said, isn't it funny how depending on what happens, all of a sudden a stance changes almost instantaneously. Like, for example, 6 days ago, exclusives were an antiquated business practice. It's an old business practice. It's not the future of gaming, this and that, whatever. And then as soon as they show Phil and Sarah out the door and Sony takes their ball and goes home on PC, then all of a sudden everybody's like, we need exclusives back. We need exclusives back. And I'm like, that's peculiar. I'm like, wasn't it 6 days ago you're saying it's an antiquated business service, but now you're saying that's the only thing that can save Xbox? Right? And so when I point out those hypocrisies, it's kind of funny. And I'm not a prick about it. I'm actually ask a question. I just ask a question. I'm like, no, I'm just literally asking a question. Like, I thought last week it was antiquated. What's the what happened? What's the change? Because I would like to try and understand how, your thought, your train of thought. And of course I get no answers. Right. But I mean, there's at least 6 or 7 like different examples of different things that I could just say that people I think it just comes down to, no matter what console or hardware people have, I think that people just have an insecurity about their justification of purchase. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I think people just want to feel, wanted. They want to feel like they're winning or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's just whatever it is.
So weird. That's so weird.
I don't think it's got anything to do with the consoles. I think it's got a lot to do with what's going on in their personal life.
I don't disagree with you. I think there's some people out there who probably have some issues that they're dealing with, or have found acceptance within the community, and they just.
Phil Spencer called it out, dude. Tribalism. He said, "I hate tribalism," and I'm like, dude, he said it himself.
You know what though? Phil saying that was kind of funny. There's some irony to Phil's.
Of course there is, because he's got a job to do by peddling their wares as well. Yes, I mean, he makes millions of dollars doing it.
A lot of parasocial relationships, and Yeah.
I mean, if you paid me $7 million US a year, I'll be the biggest hypocrite on the planet. I don't give a shit.
Max, I'll be out there shilling for.
I'll be shilling. I'll throw away my YouTube channel, my pride. You give me that. That's 10 million Canadian. Oh man, dude. Whatever, man. I'll be on. Never mind. I won't even say what I was about to say. I was going to say something like that, but I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just kidding. Mag is always going to be mag. I don't compromise who I am or what I am. I know exactly what I am. But anyways, the thing is that, like I said, is a lot of hypocrisy, a lot of weirdness. And I just sit back and I don't involve myself. I don't fight with people. I just let it happen. I'm just like, okay, you guys just do your thing, whatever, I guess, But it's not my thing. I stay away from that stuff. There's no console warring in my channel or my chats. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. Sometimes, like, some people will creep in once in a while and say something.
I know you get some haters in there, Mag.
What's that?
I know you get some haters in there.
Oh, I get hate. No, not on my channel. Because they'll get eaten alive by the chat.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, the cool thing is a lot of us disagree. We disagree on stuff. Even my chat. We disagree on things, and then like literally 3 hours later, we're all hanging out playing games together or talking in the Discord or something like that. Like, it's not like we're enemies or we're fighting or it's ridiculous. What are we talking about?
Yeah. By the way, speaking of marketing, this just happened about an hour ago.
Okay, what's up?
Xbox has deleted all references to "This is an Xbox" ad campaign from the Xbox website.
It's been wiped out.
Yeah, it's been wiped out.
Oh yeah. Well, what's the new slogan? There's a new slogan. I saw it on.
But you can't walk that back now, and even if you look at like the GDC stuff today, like it still all points to everything's an Xbox. They're just not saying it out loud anymore.
Well, yeah, like the business plan doesn't change. Just the words.
Absolutely, just the words. Yeah,
and I told people, I said, listen, you're gonna have to when it comes to a lot of things. Sorry, this is when they first announced Asha and all that stuff. I said, you're gonna have to curb your expectations, not with the product. You're gonna have to curb your expectations with the direction that they're going. She may make changes, but she still has to fit within the parameters of the business model laid before her by her bosses, right? And that is something that a lot of people can't seem to grasp. They think that it's going to be some grand, and I'm like, no, that's not how it goes. And I'm not saying, I know some people are saying, here comes the new boss, same as the old boss. And I'm like, no, I know she's going to do her thing, but I said she's going to have freedom to do some things, but it's going to still have to fit within the parameters of the business model laid out before her by Satya Nadella. And of course, under the tutelage and the watchful eye of the CFO of the company, because it's her ass on the line when it comes to the money. And then on top of that, you have to make sure you're appeasing the investors. Right. And that's when people say silly things like, oh, if they want to make it greater, they gotta buy this studio and buy this studio and do this. And I'm like, you've done that. $80 billion of that, and it didn't work. So you've got, you know what I mean? And it didn't happen. You tried to buy yourself success, and it still didn't happen. People push back, right? And it just didn't work. And so, like, you have to approach it in a different way, but you still have to do it with it. Like, okay, like BRAP, for example, okay? Let's say you get promoted, okay, at your company, okay? And they're like, yeah, you've got freedom to run this entire division, but do you still have to answer to somebody? Yes, you do, right? So they're saying you have the freedom to do what you want or whatever, but you got to stay within this budget. You got to stay within this amount of labor, this many staff members. You have to make sure that this is still in there. You still have to balance the books. Like, there's all these things that still have to happen. So I keep telling everybody, I'm like, listen, guys, it's totally cool to be excited. Totally cool, right? No problem with that. I said, but manage your expectations as to the changes that you think are going to happen. I said, because a lot of it is going to remain with slight tweaks in order to maximize their profits. Anyways, that's all I had to say. I'm out of words. I did a 5-hour podcast yesterday. 5 hours, dude.
How did you do a 5-hour podcast?
I was drunk for 2 hours of them.
Okay, well,
so I did 3 hours solo cast.
Yeah,
solo cast. I did a 3-hour solo cast, and then the last 2 hours of the show is just like, we're not even talking about video games. We're just hanging out talking about random stuff, and we just like shut the shit for 2 hours. And all of a sudden, the next day, I look at the clock, and I'm like a quarter of a bottle of whiskey deep, and I'm like, oh. And then I looked, and then I was on the air for 5 hours yesterday. So yeah,
that's great. That is great. No, I love it.
It was funny, but anyways.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm to kind of put a to wrap up the show here.
Yeah,
I'm,
I do
I'm
have to
still,
go. So.
yeah, I know you mentioned like an hour of your time, so look, I'm still interested to learn more about Helix.
I think
In the
I
coming
think
months,
it's going to
so,
be a fascinating
yeah,
product.
yeah.
I think it's gonna be
really
fascinating.
interesting, yeah.
I'm interested. I'm very interested to see what it is. I mean, I'd be even more interested if Usher there sends me one so I can look at it. You know what I mean? Because hey, you know how many
Usher.
guys out there? Yeah. You know how many guys out there got ROG Xbox Ally X's and we're talking about them, and I'm like, yeah, did you pay for them? And they're like, no, Microsoft sent them to me. I'm like, well, I go, it's a lot easier to do that. The only one, believe it or not, from what I understand, the only one that actually was open about it and says, I wouldn't buy this thing. It goes because it's way too expensive. Was of all? Oh no, it's Alex. He said he goes, I wouldn't buy this. He goes, Microsoft gave it to me for free to review. He goes, but I wouldn't buy it. It's too expensive. At least he was honest.
Yeah, at least he was honest about it.
He was totally honest about it. I laughed about it. I'm like, you know what? That's kind of funny. That's the Greek in him. So, you know what I mean? So anyways, the point is I'm very fascinated with the product as well. I just can't see myself parting with 2,000 of my dollars based on current US prices and exchange rates.
Yeah.
I can't see myself parting with
Yeah.
$2,000 to get something that I actually can get right now. And I'm not interested in Steam games. I mean, what am I really missing on Steam? I'm playing, all the games I'm playing are either third party
Man,
or
you're missing the big Steam sales, man. I look, I game on PC.
Yeah,
love
I
the
get
Steam
yeah.
sales. And it's funny too because even with Xbox, this is something I wanted to bring up with Logic when he was on earlier. But
Right.
one of the questions is like, how are games going to perform on the Xbox PC storefront for Steam? Because if you there was literally if you played Halo Infinite at one point, the Steam version was the better version in terms of stability and not crashing than the Xbox store version.
Interesting. Why would that be?
I don't know. I literally had to download Halo Infinite on Steam because the Xbox version, and it wasn't just me that was happening too.
Wow, that's really
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't even know. I mean, I'm not in the PC world. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I have a capable PC that can play all these games. I'm not interested. And like I said, I use the horsepower from that literally to fuel my YouTube channel. That's it. I don't do it for any other reason. I tried it once. I just was like, let me see, because I've never really, done PC gaming. I'm like, let's see what it's all about. And it wasn't my thing. But like I said, I'm in my studio, like down the basement, my arcade/studio. And that's where I do all of my gaming, right? So my gaming is all done in there anyway. So I'm like, well, if I'm sitting at the computer, I have a multi-level desk. It's kind of hard to describe, but my multi-level desk has all the hardware down here. I got my Switch 2 down here, two series consoles down here, an S and an X, and a PS5 Pro, all down here, right? So why would I even bother with PC when the other things are literally right in front of my face?
Yeah,
and that's just me.
I will say this: people really need to stop comparing Helix to a 5080. Just stop that.
Listen. That's not my thing. I don't know anything about it. I wouldn't even know where to start.
It is not a 1-to-1 comparison.
Okay.
We all know the consoles, whatever Helix uses a custom APU. That's shared power, memory, thermal limits. I mean, 58 for heaven's sake, 5080. The 5080 has its own. And so VRAM. I mean, I don't why are we? I don't know. I don't want to get on that rant on that soapbox, but people shouldn't be making that comparison. It's the same thing they did with the Series X. Oh, it's like a 2080. It's like, no, it's not really like a 2080. Not a 1-to-1. But anyhow, well, Mag, I know you got to go. I know you said you had about an hour. I want to be respectful of your time, but
we did an hour and 40.
Yeah. Did we do an hour? Oh,
yeah, it's 20 to 11 my time. Yeah,
we did. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Mac.
It's all good, man.
It was always great shooting the shit with you. By the way.
Yeah, that was great. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the chat, you guys were excellent in the chat.
Yeah, we have a pretty good chat here. But do me a favor, plug your channel. Let everyone know they can find you.
I can do all of those things. Actually, I'll paste a link to my channel right now if anybody's interested. There it is. It's just there's the Mag Show. The Mag Show. You guys want to check it out? Tuesday nights is Magcast. That's where I do my my podcast of the week. It's gaining quite a bit in popularity. From when in the last 6 months, I've almost doubled my viewers. So it's doing
awesome,
great.
Man.
I do videos, I do shorts for channel members. I even do for anybody who knows me. I also used to be an executive chef. I've been in the hospitality business from all the way down from the grill all the way to the corporate level. in the office. And so I've done it all. So once a month, I do special cooking videos on the channel as well. I do all kinds of crazy stuff, man. It's great. And I cover a lot of stuff. I talk to a lot of people in the industry. I've never claimed to be an insider, never will be. But I do drink and I know things, just like they say in Game of Thrones. So there's a lot of cool
drink and I know things.
I drink and I know things. So I get a lot of insight as to what happens and whatever. But yeah, come check it out, man. Come check out the channel and check out some of the videos. I like I said, and we have a lot of fun over there. And then of course on Monday I'm on XNC with Colt Eastwood. And it's fun, man. We're like Siskel and Ebert. You know what I mean? Like it's like we may agree on some things, and all of a sudden we'll be like, nah, dude, no, you're wrong, or whatever. And then we have gentlemen's bets live on the air, and then people are very quick to bring that up. And then when we get an answer, and it's a lot of fun, man. So yeah, it's a good time. So, anyways, you guys were awesome. Great chat, as like I said, you guys were nice to see you too, PlayStation Home. And yeah, come check me out anytime, man. And of course, I also stream on Friday night. Friday Night Live. Friday Night Live, I usually leave it up to the community. I said, guys, what game do you want me to play? And then we do all that. Unless it's a new release, and then, of course, I'll be playing the new release. Like, I've been playing Resident Evil. I did 3 streams of Resident Evil, finished it. I'm on my 4th run right now. I finished it on... 5th run.
You finished it 3 times already?
4. I'm on my 5th. I'm on my 5th run right now. I did a hardcore... not hardcore. It's called Insanity. I did a level on Insanity, and let me see, 5 hours and 47 minutes it took me to do on Insanity. So now I'm doing a 5th run because that's the last trophy I need for the platinum. And what that is that you have to finish the game in under 4 hours. So I put it on the easiest mode with unlimited ammo and shit. So it should be pretty easy, but well, we're gonna find out.
Oh my goodness, that is what that.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome that you finished it like 4 times because
I love Resident Evil is my favorite series of all time.
This game, Requiem, is so good.
It's so good. I mean, and you know what's funny? Actually, you know what's funny? Speaking of PC, I'm not going to get into this, but when I was streaming the games, you know how many people were coming to the chat? I had 3,000 people come watch me play the game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And people going, dude, what kind of a rig are you rocking? It looks incredible and this and that. Because I use an Elgato 4K capture card, so I'm getting everything in 4K, right? And they're like, dude, what rig are you rocking? Holy shit, that looks amazing. I'm like, a PS5 Pro. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and they're like, what? I'm like, the PSSR 2, man. I'm playing at 4K 60 with full ray tracing. And they're like, holy shit, we thought you were rocking a 5090 or something like that. Like you were like, I had a heavy duty PC. I'm like, no, man, it's the Pro. It's pretty amazing. So yeah. Going to be a lot of great stuff coming out this year, but anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Got to run, folks. Got to run. Got to do my...
All right, Mag. Well, thank you again. Always a pleasure having you on. Hope to see you Crossfire sometime soon, too.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And yeah, we'll talk soon. All right, chat. You guys have a great night. BRAP, you have a great night. We'll talk, we talk behind the scenes as we do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, man. Have a good one, brother.
You too. Thank you, Mag.
Right.
All right. Yep. All right, everyone. Mag did drop a link to the show, his channel. Please check him out. Give him some support. And look, I want to thank everyone for watching the show live tonight. Really appreciate it. We had an early start, 8:30 p.m. We'll be back though next Wednesday at our regular scheduled time at 9 p.m. Probably do a rant. Try to get Logic back in. We didn't get Logic had to leave early. He's actually on Thrifty Show. I think of this Thrifty Gaming podcast. I think. I don't know, Nate. Maybe I don't know if you watch Thrifty's podcast, Nate, but that's where Logic is this evening. And so it's great that he is able to stop by and give us about an hour of his time, but may do another BRAP rant, kind of pick his brain a bit more about building the next building the next generation of Xbox from GDC 2026. Again, the keynote address at the Xbox Developer Summit that happened today. Jason Ronald gave us some insight, not a whole lot, but go ahead and probably try to get Logic back on and do a little bit more of a deep dive into that. So thank you everyone for watching tonight's show. Please do me a favor, hit the like button. If you're new, consider subscribing, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Again, we go live every night, or not every night. I don't have time to do it every night, but every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you so much. And we'll catch you next time. Take care.